Hello dear viewers, and welcome back to the ancient dwarven hold of our ancestors. Today we're going to talk about the game Darfall. Darfall is a real-time strategy / city building survival game developed by Square Knight and published by Paradox Arc. It was released on Steam on the 8th of May 2025. In Darfall, you construct your base, including various industries and professions. Alongside this, you build defences to protect your base and fend off attackers. You will take control of a mighty hero who you can use to explore the land, looking for beasties to fight and treasure to loot in order to help defend your base. If you have watched my channel, you might know that I'm quite a fan of the Warcraft series of games. I did a whole look back at Warcraft 3 a while ago that I'll post somewhere hereabouts. Warcraft 3 had different game modes like skirmish maps, custom maps and the campaign. The campaign was brilliant and the custom maps and different modes were great, and I kind of looked to other games that might give me a similar experience. Darfall has given me some of that experience again. Not exactly in the same way, but it was fun sitting there with the sun coming through the windows and the dog asleep nearby as I built buildings, moved units and slayed beasts. The setting of Darfall is one of classic fantasy, with magic and spells and demons and undeads and all sorts with that medieval theme. The land looks much like the standard kind of world of this ilk, which is pleasant enough, and always a good backdrop to some mighty stories of good persevering through the sprawling grip of baneful evil. Darfall does remind me of Warcraft 3, and as I've mentioned, this is a good thing, to me anyway. The models have their own look to them though, a little blocky but with character that endears them rather well. The map designs are good too, with different biomes like forests, snowdrift, deserts and more. I keep saying it, but it gives me that fantasy RTS style feeling that I enjoy so much. The game runs well, with no big frame drops or chugging with too many units on the battlefield at once. It was smooth sailing while in game. One thing about how it runs I would say is that loading times, which can be rather long and sometimes it can hang while doing so. I didn't experience any hard crashes though. The sound design for Darfall feels good. The music is what you would hope from a fantasy strategy game and suits the setting well. That familiar chop or clink as miners and woodcutters lay into their quarry reminds me of the old times indeed. In the campaign, in both the cutscenes between levels and main gameplay, the heroes are fully voiced, exchanging dialogue with one another and drawing you in some to what is going on. It is voiced well, and I wondered if perhaps I might have recognised some of the voices I heard. Besides custom maps, when you first load up Darfall, there are two main modes that you can choose from, the campaign and survival. In the campaign, as you imagine, you follow the story as it unfolds, with you taking control of a mage who has a strange shard in his chest that grants him great powers. There is an interesting tale to be told here, with fighting the baddies that are seeking to take over and destroy the land. Desperate holdouts, survival and rescues are to be had. I was enjoying the campaign quite a lot, and did most of the levels on hard difficulty, which really tested my skills, having to reload and restart several times as I was overrun or some key unit died. It's not as legendary as Warcraft 3's campaign, but it's solid nonetheless. The only real problem I have with it is that it's rather short. It took me about 15 hours to get through, which isn't bad, but it would have been fun to have more campaign to get my teeth into. The second mode, and most likely the intended main mode, is survival. These are singular levels on a large overworld map which you can choose from. Each map has varying values, but the general thing is survive a number of nights without your base being destroyed. For in survival mode, unlike campaign, there is a day and night cycle. During the day and into the light, you build your base consisting of workers and producers and military units and defences. You'll also have your hero venturing out into the wilderness beyond your base, where you will fight mobs, level up and get some loot along the way. The production chains in Darfall are more complicated than a simple RTS one might be. For example, not only do you need to chop down trees for wood, but you must also turn it into boards at the carpenter for certain constructions and upgrades. You will also use it to create charcoal for your lamps to keep out the darkness for as long as you can. You will also need to refine rocks into stone bricks at a stonemason and turn wheat into bread at a bakery. Generally, the second line buildings that refine the base materials into something don't require a worker, but the raw resource gathering and farming work must be done by said workers. So it isn't quite like, say, Settlers, where every type of building needs not only to be built, but also with a specialised worker to work there. They are like peasants or peons from Warcraft, and the number you can have is set by the number of houses that you've built. There are various ways to buff them to make them work faster, like simply having a hero in the vicinity, like baking them some bread in the bakery, or upgrading their production building. Worker pathing is good, allowing them to navigate the map easily and not suffer from being blocked in by a building or something, which is great to see. Interestingly, the workers cannot be targeted by you and controlled in any way. Once you assign them to a mining or lumber camp, for example, any that are free and currently without a job will walk over and begin working on that site. Unlike peasants in Warcraft, they cannot try to defend themselves when attacked, even so poorly as they might. They will hide in buildings until the danger is over, which I think is a nice addition and helps to keep them safe. Darfall, base building wise, seems like a progression of the simpler productions found in older games. For example, whereas in other games you might simply be able to create units with wood and gold, in Darfall, to produce a knight, you would have to create plate armour, a shield and a sword at the blacksmith, which uses bars created at the smelter. There are lots of things you can create at various buildings, which can be used to recruit military units or upgrade various buildings to produce faster or more efficiently. It is quite involved and you need to keep track of several different resources, but it is good fun and importantly not too heavy. It feels just about right for the sort of thing we're going for here. Besides all the production stuff, you need to build defences in the form of walls and weaponry, like ballistae and cannon towers. In survival mode especially, but in campaign too, you will need to construct adequate protection for your base lest it be destroyed. Building walls is quick and easy to do, but I was a bit frustrated at times when seemingly I couldn't build over certain types of terrain, but that same type of terrain still allowed enemies to come through, thus having a hole in the defences. I was also used to forests blocking units, but in Darfall this isn't the case, so be careful. You can build connected walls diagonally though, which is really cool to discover. While you're building things in your base, you'll want to make use of your hero. They are quite versatile in what they can do. You can use them to actually mine or cut wood if you like, giving you a boost in materials, and their mere presence will buff workers around them. A lot of the time though, you'll be sending them out to the surrounding area to fight monsters, gather loot and level up. A hero gains XP not only from combat, but also from gathering those resources, which I like. You can also build them out to a certain way of your liking. If you chose the Dwarf Engineer for example, he can build his own walls to defend the base, summon gun turrets and even smash people with his hammers. When defeated, enemies will drop magical power in the form of orbs which you can use to recruit units. They can also drop resources along with items which your hero can wear. Your hero has various slots for equipment along with an inventory, allowing them to carry items that they come across. There are objectives too that you will acquire as the map progresses. These will reward loot and experience. The areas around your base are populated with different encounters and points of interest. Enemy camps, cursed graveyards, wild animals, chests that need opening and more. I think there is the right amount of things to interact with that will challenge you enough without feeling like the situation is hopeless. So the general gist of survival mode in Darfall is during the day you gather resources, construct buildings and defences and have your hero running about trying to collect stuff to use and level up. When night arrives you can still gather stuff, but vision is essentially zero outside the confines of your base. It is here in the night that evilry will assail your fortress. You must make use of the defences you have and the military units and your hero at your disposal. You need to stay alive long enough for the day to arrive and with it a reprieve from the ravening hordes. Workers and military units can become demoralised if they are left in the dark. Luckily your main fortress provides some light while also healing nearby units, and you can create more light with lampposts. Not only do they illuminate the surrounding area, they also allow you to extend where you can build your base. They use charcoal, which you must produce from wood, which means you better be careful at night so you don't run out. I think the night and day mechanic works really well. I haven't played many modern city builder defense type things lately, so I don't know if this is a common mechanic nowadays, but I find the cycle rather interesting. You have to use the time you have to build defences, but also level your hero. If you don't do so, especially on harder difficulties, you may get overrun. I like this a lot, I have to say. It was kind of a Stronghold vibe mixed with the aforementioned Warcraft series. I would try to be efficient during the day to try and get as much done as possible while building up a strong hero. Then, when night arrived, I would strive to keep the base from being destroyed. Unless you're doing the endless missions, each map doesn't last too long, which is actually a good thing I feel, as you can fit one in a shorter session. It also means that you can progress through the different maps at a decent pace. I think the only problem with this is that I rarely managed to get my hero fully powered up in legendary items and lots of talents before the final night of attack happened and I have completed the map. This means every map you start afresh with a new hero rather than them carrying over between them. I'm fine with this, and later maps where you have to hold out for more nights can allow your hero to be properly built out. A lot of times in the survival maps, I did find myself mostly creating cheaper units, as acquiring iron and silver was more difficult due to your starting base nearly always not being near veins of either of these ores. To obtain these materials you need to either expand your base towards them or create an outpost, which is a smaller version of your base out in the wilderness. You can break down items you don't need for your hero though, which will give you some of these materials, and mobs out in the world can drop some too, so you're not completely starved if you don't have any. Trying different heroes keeps things fresh, as you can happily switch between them when you try out different maps. Obviously the dwarf hero is the best, and with a mighty beard of course, but other champions are fun, each with different strengths and weaknesses that you can try out and see which sort of things are to your liking. There is also a custom map editor featured in Darfall, which means people can create their own custom maps and possibly game modes, like you could in Warcraft 3. I think this will add a lot to the longevity of the game, especially if anyone can create some cool new modes for people to try. I must say, as an old school RTS enjoyer, and especially as someone who is into the Warcraft games, Darfall existing makes me rather happy. I perhaps didn't realise how much I missed playing fantasy, hero-based strategy games like this. I don't play many city builders nowadays, though perhaps I should change that, but I have played Settlers and the old Anno games and such, and Darfall doesn't seem to be specifically like they mention in the description. I would actually rather suggest that this is a hero-based RTS defence game. I don't know, it doesn't really matter to be honest how we describe a game, but rather whether the game is actually any good. I'm happy to say that this game is very good and I enjoyed playing it very much. If you like any of the Warcraft series or Stronghold or any other sort of base defence game, then I think you'll enjoy this. The campaign, though admittedly short, was interesting to play and set itself apart enough from the survival mode that it warrants its inclusion. The survival maps are fun and gradually become more difficult as you work your way through them. If this game gets popular enough, we might see some cool custom maps being created too. I hope the devs continue to support the game, and would be rather interested to play some more campaign missions and check out any new heroes if they decide to do any more. Darfall feels like an important game, and I hope it gets more attention. This one shouldn't get lost in the shuffle. There is a lot of work put into this by seemingly just 2 people, which is incredibly impressive. Check this one out, guys. And there we go, dear viewers, another video from me here down in the Ancient Hold. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what I do down here, then please consider subscribing. Click the bell and all that if you fancy. I have actually started a second channel, which concerns the lore of World of Warcraft. If you're into Warcraft, you might find some interesting backstory to things going on over there. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time.